Are you looking for ways to strengthen your marriage? Would you like to raise children you enjoy being around? Do you long for a peaceful, orderly home that's a blessing to everyone who comes through its doors? Then you've come to the right place. I'm Jennifer Flanders, a Bible-believing, homeschooling mother to 12 and host of the Loving Life at Home podcast. Join me as we discover what God's Word has to say about marriage, motherhood, and minding the things that matter most. Hello, friend. Welcome to episode 95 of Loving Life at Home. Last week, I promised to tell you all about our family's recent Shark Tank challenge, so that's what I want to do today. But first, I feel like you need a little bit of background information. We have a very competitive culture in our family. We love challenging one another, whether physically or mentally or with silly competitions that don't really count for anything at all except for fun memories and family togetherness. So it's a friendly sort of competition, but competition nonetheless. When the kids were little, this often took the form of push-up or sit-up or chin-up competitions, or we'd see who could stand on their hands or sit on the wall or hold a plank position the longest. One year, I bought the family a slack line for Christmas, strung it between two trees about 30 feet apart, and offered $10 to the first child who could successfully cross it without falling. They practiced constantly. One of our daughters, who I think was about 6 or 7 at the time, would get up with the sun every morning at the crack of dawn and go into the backyard while it was barely even light to get in practice time before her siblings got up and started lining up for their turns. Of course, not all the competitions were physical. Sometimes we'd see which child could read the most books over the summer or design the clearest and most concise gospel tract. I'll include links to the winners of that competition in today's show notes. Or we'd race to see who could complete a trivia test the fastest. I have lots of free printable quizzes on our family website that we've used over the years for different holidays: Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, Reformation Day, MLK Day, St. Patrick's, and the like, and others that cover details from some of our family's favorite movies that we'll drag out anytime we rewatch a particular show, especially during the Christmas season. I'll provide links to both those categories in the show notes as well. Sometimes we'll compete in a board game tournament. Just last night, we all played Bananagrams, and one of my daughter-in-laws won every single round against some really top competitors. Or we'll see who can get the highest score in a spelling bee, or finish their math drills the fastest, or earn the highest score on room inspection, or make their bed and keep their rooms nice and tidy for the most days in a row. When we travel, we often map out obstacle courses at rest stops, and then we'll time each child as they complete it. Or we compete to see who can correctly identify the most capital cities of the states we're passing through, or execute the most impressive jump off a high dive, or win a foot race to the top of a high hill, or best the most family members and king of the mountain. 1 Corinthians 9:24 tells us, "Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one receives the prize? Run in such a way as to win the prize." I think most of my family members have really taken that verse to heart, and I don't just mean in the metaphorical sense that it was intended. It really doesn't matter what the competition was or is, our kids are game and will be trying their best to win it. That may be because we normally offer some kind of prize. Sometimes the winner gets money, sometimes a gold sticker on a chore chart, sometimes winner gets the privilege of picking the restaurant we eat at for dinner that night, or the flavor of ice cream that we bring home from the grocery store, or even the movie that we watch as a family that evening. Sometimes the prize is merely a pat on the back and the satisfaction that comes from finishing first, like Michaela got last night with Bananagrams, or maybe even a silly trophy or a medal made from a salsa lid strung on a piece of ribbon, or a special certificate I designed on my computer and printed out at home. One year we sponsored a neighborhood ping pong tournament for which the cardiologist next door took top honors. Rumor is he still has a framed copy of the ping pong championship certificate he won at that event hanging on the office wall at his clinic, right next to his medical school diploma and his other professional certifications and accolades. You get the idea. If you want buy-in from every member of our family, all you have to do is gamify whatever you want done and offer some token award to the winner. My son Benjamin has always been great at making a game out of chores. He also loves playing tag, and he used to promise $1 to any sibling who could catch him. He would run just slow enough for them to feel like they really had a chance, but when they started getting older and getting faster, he would ramp up his speed. It was rare that anybody ever caught him. Benjamin also trained most of his younger siblings and nephews to be formidable ultimate frisbee players by running them through their paces in a variety of drills in our backyard, where he'd give a piece of candy to each child who could catch the frisbee he threw their way. He had it down to a science, and watching the whole group practice was like admiring a finely oiled machine. But Ben is not the only one who has taken up the mantle in designing family competitions. My son, Samuel, and his wife, Becca Joy, we use her middle name to differentiate her from our daughter, Rebecca, took things to a whole new level several years ago when they began sponsoring elaborate yearly competitions that involved the whole family. Samuel tells me that pretty soon after they married, the two of them spent a whole day, or maybe it was a whole weekend, brainstorming, and they generated a long list of ideas that they've been working off ever since for what has now become a new family tradition of these elaborate challenges that we all look forward to with great enthusiasm every year. I think he drew inspiration from areas that he either really enjoyed as a kid himself and was naturally good at, like geography and physical fitness, or subjects that he wished he had given more attention to when he was younger, like public speaking and PowerPoint slides. Truth be told, some of these competitions were undoubtedly designed to remedy perceived gaps in my children's home education. They were either things that I didn't teach at all, or maybe not as thoroughly as I should have, like budgeting and money management, or else I covered them in a way that was so boring it failed to catch and hold everybody's attention. But that's okay. I'm just happy my older kids are finding such fun and creative ways to inspire their siblings to regularly devote time to learning skills and building habits that will benefit them and enrich their lives in the long run. That's a win for all of us, no matter who comes away with the grand prize. Really, they're taking Hebrews 10:24 to heart by considering how to stimulate others to love and good works, while simultaneously rectifying common learning gaps for the next generation, including younger siblings and nieces and nephews, which I think is so smart and generous and just all around amazing. I love it. One of the first competitions that Samuel and Becca Choi sponsored was aimed at getting our kids to learn more about finances and the wise use of money. He challenged each of us to read a book of our own choosing on any topic related to finances and then submit a written report of what we learned. That was pretty straightforward. They gave everyone a scoring rubric to use in evaluating all the essays submitted, so we all read each one and voted on our favorite using those grading guidelines. Skills taught or practiced through this competition included reading, writing, and finances. Not only did you learn the material from the book you read personally, but you also got highlights from the books that everybody else read as well, since we all had to read and score each report submitted. It's been a long time since that challenge, but I think the top prize for that competition was $300, second was $200, and third was $100. And I think there were also some special prizes of maybe $50 or so for top non-winning essays in each age group. I don't remember who won that competition. All I know for sure is that I finished dead last, despite the fact that I had read 6 or 7 financial books during the course of that year, and my essay reported on all of them, or at least I reviewed all of them. I think I didn't adequately summarize the material in the book, which is what the sponsors were really looking for. Now, let's see. I believe the next competition for the following year was physical fitness. Samuel and Becca Joy gave specific guidelines as to how we could earn points for working out at least 20 minutes 3 times a week, and we got extra points for maintaining that streak of 3 times weekly exercise over 2 weeks. So top earner, the one with the most points by the end of the competition, got a generous prize. I want to say it was maybe $500 towards something that would support continued physical fitness, like a gym membership or home workout equipment or fees to join a sports team, that sort of thing. The year after that, they challenged us all to study a country and come up with a PowerPoint teaching what we learned. Samuel loved geography as a kid. I'm pretty sure he even won first place in a geography bee that our homeschool support group sponsored while he was in middle school. But he admits the inspiration for the PowerPoint portion of this competition was an honor society convention for which he had to present a PowerPoint slideshow during college. He was really satisfied with his slides until he saw all the amazing and visually stunning presentations the other honor students delivered at the national convention. And then he felt sad and maybe even a bit ashamed that he hadn't devoted more time and effort to his own. So to spare his siblings from that same kind of embarrassment, he wanted them to learn PowerPoint at a younger age and see examples of other family members' PowerPoints before they ever found themselves in such a situation in college. We had some amazing family presentations that year. Several people included elements other than the slideshow to help immerse their audience in whatever country they studied. One of my daughters studied England, and she dressed up in period garb and served scones and tea during her presentation. Others served soup or passed around souvenirs or artifacts from the country that they studied. My country, the one I picked, was Poland, so I hand embroidered a traditional Polish costume to wear during my presentation. I sang some Polish songs and even served some special wafers that are common treats in Poland around Christmas time, which is when this particular family competition was taking place. I did much better that year than I did on a financial book reading. I think I may have even earned first place. Again, Samuel and Becca provided a grading rubric so that we could each score one another's presentation. I don't remember what the prize was that year, so maybe I didn't win it after all. I'll have to look back at our Christmas letters to figure that out for sure. I do know that the following year's competition was Bible memory. We had several amazing presentations that year too. And I'm pretty sure I already explained the details from that challenge in an earlier episode of this podcast. I'll look that one up and link it in the show notes in case you're interested. I know for sure that I won top prize that year, which was either your choice, $1,000 toward a trip to Israel or $500 cash. I totally would have taken the trip allowance for a visit to the Holy Land, except that it was right after the October 7 Hamas attack. So I opted for the cash prize instead, and I used it as seed money to fund ongoing monthly memory challenges for my kids and grandkids. And we've been doing that for a couple of years now, too, with more than 20 family members participating who have learned a combined total of over 1,000 verses. I'll link more information about how we do that competition in today's show notes, including a couple of print packs filled with the exact verses that we've learned, plus all the resources that I created to help make memorizing those passages easier, including unique award certificates for each month in case you want to establish the same tradition in your own family. Let's see. The year after that, we were all required to make a 2 to 5, or maybe it was a 2 to 10 minute video on a STEM topic of our choice. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, for those who don't know that acronym. I did mine on Fibonacci numbers and learned a lot and tried to make it really interesting for the people that were watching my video. But it was a really interesting competition all around. We all learned so much. And my daughter Rachel won first prize in that contest for a very thorough and well done look at evolution versus young earth creationism. I would really love to post several of those videos the kids did that year. If I ever get around to doing that, I'll come back and link the videos and today's show notes as well. And that brings us up to this year's Family Shark Tank Challenge. Samuel and his wife had set aside a fixed amount of money they wanted to invest in projects that other family members were interested in. I know that they give a certain percentage of their income each year to charitable causes anyway, so I think this challenge was probably just a subcategory of giving for their family, but it was so much appreciated by the rest of us. Because beyond investing part of their treasure in the lives of their loved ones, a secondary goal for this competition was to help refine family members' ability to pitch themselves or an idea. Something Samuel noted is very important, because if you don't know how to do this properly, then someday you may go ask your boss for a raise and get fired instead. So is an important life skill. To participate in this year's competition, family members had to either pitch themselves as a potential shark or pitch an idea and a request for funding. We wound up with a panel of 5 sharks, which included the 2 originals, Samuel and his wife Becca Joy, plus my husband Doug, my mother, whom all our kids and grandkids call Nana, and our 19-year-old son Daniel. Actually, Nana didn't pitch herself. She was nominated by Samuel, who wrote the most wonderful and honoring pitch on her behalf. I need to have him send me a copy of it because it's a real treasure and I want to keep a copy forever. He did such a great job outlining all of Nana's qualifications, including the fact that she already invests in the lives of all her children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren by faithfully praying for them by name every single day and by combing through our family chat for details that will help her pray more specifically. Anyway, the rules, which Sam and Becca totally made up just for this occasion and don't follow the televised Shark Tank at all, but they specified sales pitches would be given in order of age, youngest to oldest. And if you skipped your turn, you'd be bumped to the very end, which means funding might run out before they ever got to you again. So it paid off to go when it was your right by age to do so. Also, the other sharks were allowed to add to the pot of funding before the competition began, but once that first pitch started, the budget couldn't change. Also, sellers had to convince a majority of the sharks to fund their project. No individual shark was allowed to fund any project separate from the group, and any sellers whose first request was denied would be given an opportunity to negotiate for less funding with one and only one counteroffer. If that one was denied as well, then you lost out and your project didn't get funded. The youngest grandchildren didn't participate, and therefore the first to give their pitches were actually the children of those first 2 original sharks, Samuel and Becca Joy. In a brilliant and time-saving move, Samuel had pre-recorded their speeches so that each one only had to stand at the front of the audience underneath their slideshow while the tape played. Sarah went first. She's not even 3 yet, so her dad just used the voice memo feature on his phone to pre-record her saying one sentence at a time, pausing to prompt her with each new sentence before resuming the recording so that the finished presentation flowed so smoothly and lasted less than 2 minutes. It was adorable. She requested $7 for a gallon of sweet tea to share at the pool with her family because they all love tea and they enjoy spending time together. Plus, the summer is hot and it's important that they stay hydrated. So her request was approved unanimously, I think. Then their oldest daughter, Evelyn, is 4.5. She asked for $21 to buy 3 coloring books, one for her and one for each of her siblings, except for the baby. She didn't ask for a coloring book for him because he's too young to color, but she had specific coloring books in mind for everybody else and had already priced them. And she pointed out the fact that coloring is good for hand-eye coordination and fine motor skill development, and it fosters creativity, and it's also a fun, screen-free activity. And she got fully funded just like her little sister. Next up was Nathan, who is 6. He requested a set of Ninjago Legos. His mom and dad voted against his first request because they thought it was too expensive. They'd already helped him prepare a counteroffer slide with a $17 set that they thought would be more his speed, but the other 3 sharks outvoted him, so Nathan got the set he really wanted after all. There was such a variety of requests. I won't recount them all here, but I'll just give you a few highlights. Some of the sellers did not get their original request funded, but they did receive funding for their reduced request. In fact, I think everybody that asked for funding got some funding, at least. For instance, one granddaughter asked for $20 to buy candy to sell at her brother's lemonade stand. The sharks had lots of questions for her, like, what are you going to do with any candy that doesn't sell? The answer, eat it and share it with my siblings. The sharks declined the $20 ask, but they granted her negotiated offer, which was $10 for that project. Ditto for a grandson who requested money for a new pair of shoes. He already had several pair at home, but the sharks agreed to go halvesies with him on the new tennis shoes he was hoping to buy, which means he'll be mowing a lot of lawns to earn his part and will probably appreciate and take care of them better as a result. Let's see. Our 5-year-old granddaughter, Ellen, had asked her mom to video her pitch so that they could just play that movie at the competition. But her dad offered her a piece of candy if she would give the pitch in person. And she wanted that candy so much that she overcame her nerves and her natural shyness and bravely gave her pitch through tears. It was so sweet to see her conquer her fears at that tender young age. She was requesting $35 for ballet tutus, one for her and matching tutus for each of her little girl cousins. She'd taken a ballet class this summer, a little 2-week course up at the junior college camp. And she wanted to teach her little cousins what she had learned. Another grandson, who's almost 12, had been very diligent to work out every day this summer, and even during the last school year, running laps around his property and doing push-ups and sit-ups. He requested money to get a set of weights since, quote, I can't afford a gym membership, and even if I could, I don't have a car and I don't know how to drive, so I would be dependent on someone else to take me. So his request was also funded. His older brother asked for money to buy blueberry bushes, citing the health benefits of blueberries and the savings that growing your own would offer over buying them at the grocery store. His project was funded too, and those plants are already bought, paid for, and in the ground with a drip irrigation system to keep them well watered in the Texas heat. My youngest daughter requested pottery lessons. She had such a sweet little sideshow that listed all the mental health benefits to creative endeavors such as pottery and the savings that a class would offer over buying all the tools and supplies on your own to do it at home, especially considering the fact that all of the older girls in our family are going to take those pottery classes together, and she negotiated a group discount for us to do so. Another son requested money for a popcorn machine. That was Gabriel. He's planning to sell popcorn this year on trade day at the family camp we attend every October, as well as at a homeschool craft fair that we're going to be participating in November. Plus, he loves anything nostalgic, as he noted in his slideshow, and the popcorn machine will also come in handy popping up snacks for the outdoor movie he's planning to host for family and friends this fall. Then my daughter Rebecca gave a lovely appeal for the family to join her on a maple tapping expedition early next spring. She started her presentation with 3 books that we read together during her childhood: Little House in the Big Woods, Tasha Tudor's Book of Holidays. I don't remember the exact title of that one. It's a picture book. And Miracles on Maple Hill. The thing all 3 books had in common was that at some point in the story, the characters got to tap maple trees and make homemade syrup, something that Rebecca's wanted to do ever since she first heard about it through those books. Her pitch included breakfast on the front porch for our entire family, complete with homemade pancakes topped with authentic 100% maple syrup. They were delicious. And her request, beyond asking the family to set aside time to travel 13 hours from home to the nearest festival that actually teaches tree tapping sometime next March, was enough money to buy festival tickets for the whole family. I think the tickets are normally $10 a piece for adults and $4 or $5 for children, something like that. So her project was enthusiastically approved as well. And I'm really looking forward to going and learning how to tap maple trees next year. Probably my favorite pitch came from our 22-year-old son, Isaac. He started his slideshow with an adorable story about penguins and noted how 2 species of penguins mate for life. He had cute close-up pictures of them engaging in a pebbling ritual where the male penguin presents a smooth stone to a female of interest. Isaac noted the fact that humans engage in a pebbling ritual of their own, where a male gives a smooth cut stone, usually a diamond, to his female of interest, something our son is planning to do within the next year, as he'll be graduating with a degree in chemical engineering and would like to marry his steady girlfriend pretty soon afterwards. So he requested the Sharks contribute a certain amount of money to his ring fund, an amount which he was going to match and invest in Fortune 500 stocks, I believe, where it could grow until time to buy the ring. That presentation elicited all sorts of enthusiastic cheers and hoots and hollers from the audience and applause as the Sharks agreed to fund his original asking price. Sadly, The Sharks ran out of funding before the family ran out of pitches. They liquidated all their remaining assets in order to help fund a new work truck for my electrician son. That request was a complete surprise for that son, something his precious wife put together on the sly. He thought they were going to ask for money to buy a couple of goats for their little homestead. She even prepared 2 slideshows so he wouldn't suspect what she was really up to. Her request was just so honoring of her selfless and hardworking husband, who's been folding his lanky 6'5" frame up into her tiny economy car ever since she got too far advanced in her last pregnancy to fit behind its steering wheel. Needless to say, that car has 0 extra room for all the tools required for his job, but she'd really done her homework and had already figured out how much they could get in trade-in value for that car, how much they could contribute from their own savings, and how much they would ideally need for the Sharks to contribute in order to buy a nice used vehicle debt-free. Even though the Sharks ran out of money, all remaining projects ended up getting the requested funding. According to rules, none of the Sharks could fund any projects individually, but the rules said nothing about crowdfunding from the rest of the family, which is exactly what happened with almost everybody pitching in $10 or $15 to cover the expenses for those last few projects. It was such a wonderful, wonderful challenge, and it has been so great to see these funded projects start to take shape. The blueberry plants in the ground, the Fortune 500 stocks already earning interest, the popcorn machine cranking out snacks for family movie nights, the pottery lessons on the calendar, the new weight set being used to build muscle, the deal signed on the work truck, the illustration software being used to create amazing artwork, the Ninjago Legos ordered, delivered, and already assembled. Plus, Samuel and Becca have just announced next year's challenge. They're starting a family book club where we'll all read 1 book a month, the same book, and discuss. They had each of us fill out a form for the books that we're interested in reading in about a dozen different genres, so I'm excited about that. We'll see how it goes. Junior high, high school, and college students can earn money for doing this reading on top of their other schoolwork, and there will also be a final exam based on the year's reading that, Lord willing, all participants will take 15 months from now while we're gathered for Thanksgiving next year. There will be cash prizes for whoever does best on the test, as well as for the best essays written based on any of the other books we read together. Stay tuned for how that one goes. I'll do my best to give you an update after Thanksgiving 2026.
Thanks so much for listening today. If you have a question you'd like to hear covered on this podcast, message me on Instagram at Flanders_family or contact me through my website, lovinglifeathome.com. Before you go, if you've been encouraged by something you've heard on the show, do me a favor and forward the link to a friend or head over to Loving Life at Home on Apple iTunes to subscribe and leave a written review of the show. Your doing so will help others find me so they can listen too. Until next time, I pray the Lord will bless your efforts to build a loving home life centered on Him.